Cape Coast Teaching Hospital recalled its staff off duty to help manage the overwhelming injuries recorded at the Dompoase accident. At the last check, of the 57 sent there, 5 died on admission, 32 treated and discharged, leaving 20 on admission. Correspondent Richard Kojo is at the hospital and joins me with the latest. Richard, what more information do you have from the hospital?
Well, the information I have is that there are about 20 people that are still on admission here. They were in critical condition, and so they are still treating them. They include Adumansa and Shiraba. Both are at the pediatric ward. They have called in other experts to come and work for them because of the hip injury and then the head injury and the arm injury the system. So they are a bit fragile, and so that is why they need time to work on them. This morning, to the psychologist, the hospital called in has started its work and has been working on them. It's not only in Shiraba and Adumansa who have not been told of the death of their family, but there are other people as well who the hospital is taking some time and pains to break the news to them that indeed they've lost the people they were traveling with. At the mortuary, only 5 people have not been able to be identified. 29 people have so far been identified. So they are waiting for families of 5 to come and identify their people. 16 people have so far been taken, 16 bodies have been taken from the mortuary as of yesterday. And so they are still counting on the people to come so that they exhaust the processes, the coroner's inquest and the coroner's report to be satisfied. Everything would be ready, and then they will send the bodies of their family members away.
Richard, when is the psychologist expected to begin work specifically?
The psychologist, I'm told, has just begun work. He started with Adom and Ishra Bansa, but we also know that there is a family relation that has showed up, and the hospital is dealing with this family relation. Yesterday, we were also even told that he wanted to take them away, but because the news has not been broken to them, and because the 6-year-old suffered some head injury, they've called in some experts, some surgeons to come and work, because at a point he suffered some relapse and has to come back and all of that. All they've been doing is to be asking of their parents. So it's really a heavy thing for them to deal with. The hospital had to recall all its off-duty staff to come and assist in keeping these people. The accident and emergency center here was overwhelmed. And it was not only this accident that happened here. There was one that also happened on the Winneba Cape Coast stretch. We are told that one person died and there were several others who also got injured. All of these people were sent to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, and so you can imagine the pressure that it came to bear on them. And so that is why they had to call all the people that had gone home who were off duty to come and assist them. And they have really executed, they've done a human job with us.
Thank you very much, Richard Kojo. But before you go, you just showed footage of the Member of Parliament and the Regional Minister visiting the site of the accident. What have they gathered? What have they said on the back of that?
Survivors, one, the surviving driver, and the other, the surviving passenger, who said he was seated at the back of the bus that was traveling from Takoradi to Accra. He indicated that the other driver was overtaken, but we have also listened to the account of the driver who says that he was not overtaken, and there was a truck, a stationary truck that was in the middle of the road. So he was just trying to veer off, and then the accident happened. And so they say they are going to take all of these things into account. But the regional minister has been calling for stiffer punishment for people that flout road regulations and who drive carelessly on our roads. We also had Joe Gatti, the Member of Parliament for Esikado Katan and Minister for Railways. He's been advocating that we should really send a lot of our energy towards rail development so that we could develop our rail sector instead of relying more on our roads, because it appears that every year we have to lose a large number of the persons that are living here, people who could support national development as well.
Thank you very much, Richard Kojo. Keep following that issue for us. Andrew Ejapamesa is Member of Parliament for Sekondi. He's a lead member of the Western Caucus in Parliament. He joins us on the phone. As a lawmaker, Mr. Mesa, how do you feel about these frequent accidents on the Cape Coast Takoradi stretch?
Stressing. Daniel, good afternoon. These are issues that are of extreme concern to as particularly being road users ourselves. You know the frequency with which I come to the constituency, and of course I do travel at night sometimes, particularly last Sunday when I was leaving the constituency. I finished up my meetings around 10 p.m. and had to leave and drive into Accra. So having heard of an accident of this nature, which claimed 34 precious Ghanaian lives, is of extreme concern to all of us. Thankfully, I met with Honorable Jugati this morning when I got into this morning. I met him at the airport. There's a meeting that is being organized between the Western Region MPs and some stakeholders here who are involved in the oil enclave. And I know that necessarily this will be one of the items that will be on the agenda post the meeting. So we'll discuss and see how it is that we can all contribute to making our roads safe. Of course, if you heard what your reporter said, the Minister for Railway Development, who happens to be the Western Regional Caucus chairman of MPs, has indicated that he, because of the work that he's doing in the railway space, he thinks that they ought to expeditiously complete that process so that more people can use the rail, which has less chances of accidents than the roads, which obviously, because of the nature, single lane roads. I have been through some near misses. It's only by the grace of God that we haven't had anything terrible. But of course, this is something that is of a concern to all of us. Unfortunately, our country hasn't got the resources that would enable us immediately dualize all our major highways. But it's something that we need to consider seriously as a nation. Some Marshall Plan of sorts ought to be talked about and funds sought to, as it were, ensure that our routes are safe. Of course, if we're able to dualize our major highways leading in and out of Accra, that in itself will not stop road accidents. But I believe that it will go a long way into ensuring that those are brought under control.
Is this something you champion as a member of parliament?
Absolutely. It is. This is an accident one too many. This is not the first time that a major accident has happened at that particular stretch. But of course, the entire Accra highway has seen a number of accidents which obviously are avoidable if we put in the requisite investments to ensure that our roads are dualized, our railway infrastructure is improved, so that less people use the roads and ply on safer routes going forward.
There's the question of infrastructure, which you seem to address, but there's also the question of law enforcement. And the Road Safety Act, you are aware, was passed in 2004. The punitive charges were reduced by 90% in 2008. You are a member of parliament. What do you think must be done about these charges so that people are deterred from, driving recklessly?
Daniel, for me, it's not even about the fines. It's about the infrastructure that we put on the road, even with the single lane roads that we have. Do we have speed enforcement cameras, for instance? Do we have monitors? Of course, if you are a frequent user of the Accra road, you realize that there are policemen stationed practically every 100 meters, stopping people and inspecting vehicles and all that. But still, accidents do happen on the roads. People drive at outrageous speed because they know that, look, you only find one police enforcement camera on the entire stretch during the day from Accra to Accra. Or if you're lucky, you will find one on the Accra Cape Coast end and another one on the Cape Coast Accra end. These obviously are insufficient. I know that there's conversation at the transport ministry level to employ some technology to ensure that, we put in place those kinds of infrastructure that would ensure that enforcement of road traffic regulations are actually achieved. Because human intervention, the police officers cannot be at every point. And so we ought to, thankfully, because there's technology available, deploy these things. Obviously, because governments cannot fund all these things by themselves, probably in conjunction with the private sector to ensure that people actually know that when they overspeed, for instance, that there are measures that will be put in place that would arrest them, and that when they get arrested, then we can talk about the fines regime and all that, which also is an important component of it. But I'm saying that beyond the fines, we need to do more to ensure that our roads are safe and that we are able to actually enforce some of these laws. You see, I was particularly troubled, for instance, when the road safety management company's contract was not concluded, because we don't have towing trucks, across the major highways. Because if the story of the driver survives is anything to go by, if we have some centralized system where the broken down articulated truck could have called into for a tow truck to be deployed, it is entirely possible that this accident would have been avoided.
Mr. Mesa, isn't it curious that this car, which was stationary, is not there anymore? Because there are two vehicles that we see.
Indeed, this morning when I got a ride from Honorable Dugati's driver, he was telling me that when they went to the hospital, one of the things that they got to learn was that some of the injured people had been pulled out of the truck, the buses were lying on the road, and some other truck came and ran over them. And of course, that truck didn't stop. You get what I mean? So I'm saying that, yes, maybe in the heat of the accident, people found ways to repair their truck quickly and leave, because that location, when first responders come, they are more concerned in the immediate aftermath to see to saving lives rather than ensuring that trucks that were there ought not leave, the crime scene protected. And so I don't know whether there is some footage or there's some basis to confirm the story of the driver, that indeed there was a stationary truck that he was trying to avoid.
Well, the coming days would show if there's indeed footage there. But thank you very much, lawyer Andrew Ejapamesa, for joining us. He's a member of Parliament for 2nd D. He's also a leading member of the Western Region Caucus in Parliament.